welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen. With me today, the dynamic duo of Daniel Mangena and Alex King. This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. And Daniel is going to join us in just a few minutes, but Alex and I are going to get started and say hello and welcome and how are you all doing? And once again, Alex King has changed her hair. This is news every single time she comes onto the show, but once again, changed her hair. So what inspired this one? I got to ask.
Nothing. I saw it and I liked it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good reason. Sure. Yeah.
I was like, I want that one.
I'll take that. That's good. Very good. I actually just got off of recording a show with Andrew Kaplan, who was on a few weeks back, and he has a YouTube show, and he was kind enough to invite me onto his show, and just had a great time doing it. He's got this really interesting project going on that I can't reveal, but he's in the midst of doing it right now. It's sort of, he's doing it secretly in a sense, and then he's going to reveal the results to the public after a period of time. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's interesting to see what he's doing. But anyway, that picked me up good for the day. I also wanted to share something with you. You know how, like if you see somebody's trying to sell a law of attraction book, right? I mean, Andrew is one of the, he wrote the book, The Last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read. That's his book, and it's a very, very good book, by the way. But you see these ads for books and for coaching services and all this other kind of stuff. And one of the most common kinds of ads you see is where they have like a fan of money, right? Or they have like stacks of gold, or they have the guy standing by the car. One of those things where they're trying to show you the abundance that's available to you if you just buy whatever their thing is. And I realized I've got one of those, and I didn't even think about it. I just noticed it today. And where it comes from, well, it comes from the gardening service and maintenance business that Louise and I run. And we're having a really successful year. And it combines with the fact that it's a cash business. So we get paid exclusively by check. I mean, all we get is checks. And these days, of course, you don't have to go to the bank to deposit your checks. You can do it online. You can use an app, right?
Yeah.
And when you do that, you collect the checks. I mean, they just, sit in a box or something like that. Well, I keep them in a folder. And it kind of clicked that I picked up the folder the other day, and it was pretty darn thick. And, so like I got it right here. I'll reach over. I'll just pull up the wad of checks. Now I can't show you the checks, obviously. I'll show you the back sides of the checks. I can't show who the people are, but I'm going through it and I'm saying, oh my God, this is like one of those things where they're counting money on the screen. And they're not small checks, $9,600, $384, $352, $1,832. I mean, they're good sized checks, And I'm thinking, I've got like the perfect visual for abundance just in these checks from the business.
Exactly.
So I thought that was pretty funny. I hadn't thought about it that way, because when you're in the middle of it, you think about, we got to get that done. Oh, I got to send the crew out to do that. Oh, yeah. And you think about how you're actually earning it, right?
Yeah.
But you sit back and say, wow, I mean, this is 2 months worth of checks. This isn't a year. This is 2 months.
Wow.
And there's probably, I don't know how many checks there are here. I'm going to guess there are like 100, something like that.
Nice.
I don't know. Yeah. So we actually have examples of abundance in our lives that we just don't pay attention to. Oh,
excuse me.
Some of us have an abundance of sneezes,
It is allergy season.
It is indeed. It is indeed. So, I just thought I'd share that. That's kind of
it's almost cicada season. I'm very scared.
Uh-oh.
They're heavy out here.
Are they? God. Yeah.
I remember the last time they were here. I don't remember how many years ago, but it was scary. They were like coating the trees. You couldn't drive.
Oh my goodness.
They're all over the ground. Oh, and you're just crunching over them. It's terrible.
Oh yeah. Well, that's one of the perks. We'll call it that. One of the perks of living on the Cape, right?
Is it? I mean, it's only every 17 years, so whatever.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, our friend Daniel is popping in here, and Daniel, glad you could join us. How you doing today?
I was wrapping up a call. So I looked, I was like, oh, I'm late. I was
doing the same thing. I was brushing my hair and I'm like, oh, it's 4. Oh.
Yeah, I missed the theme tune and everything.
You did? Yeah. Yes. But the theme tune didn't miss you. We did include you, so we knew you were coming. It was just a question of yeah.
That's my post theme tune.
But I'll share with you what I just shared with Alex and with the audience. As you know, these days, when you get checks, you don't have to go to the bank anymore. You can just deposit them using apps and so forth. So you tend to collect them after a while. And you know how you have these ads and commercials where people are holding up wads of money and so forth, trying to show you how they can teach you how to be successful with the law of attraction or whatever. Well, I've got that with checks. I got this huge pile of checks for the last 2 months.
Right? Make it rain, Walt.
Make it rain, baby. Make it rain.
And I didn't even think of it that way until I picked it up today. Like,
so
oh my god,
so abundant. He doesn't even bother to cash his checks.
Like, I seriously, I got 3 here. I got 4 over here. They're just kind of sitting here. I can't get to them.
So much abundance, you can't keep up with it.
Really?
When I grow up, I want to be just like you.
Right?
I want to be just like you.
Except that Daniel's figured out how to make it all happen without having to process the checks. He just looks at his bank account. Oh, there it is. Okay, good.
Not by design, but by necessity. Because
yes, right.
Being an international person, it's like, yeah, that doesn't work. Although we do have a couple of checks that we have to think, but the apps don't work for us because we're in Mexico. So they only work in the US, so I can't scan the checks. So I have to wait for someone to be going back north of the border to take the checks with them.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
So you have little challenges there, but that's why you also go electronic, which makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
By the way, I love the plaid. I don't think I've ever seen you in plaid before. It looks good.
No, we haven't.
Yeah.
Never.
Do you know what it is? You normally see me in my t-shirts, but I've been wearing shirts.
That's what it is.
Ah, okay.
All of my shirts, bar like some plain white ones, which then I've got like colors. My tailor put like a color strip in the collar. In the cuff and on the buttons for some of them, and I have my initials on them. They're my white shirts, generally. But other than that, all of my shirts are checked or some.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they serve you. They look good on you, man. Really good.
Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah.
I receive.
All right. I was just telling also to Alex about how I just been on Andrew Kaplan's podcast. We just did a recording earlier today. Yeah, and that was great. Reconnecting with him. I mean, he's fabulous. He's just got.
I've linked up with him. We've got something planned on because I think we're going to do a little swapsy.
Good.
As well.
Yeah.
But do you know what the funny thing is? Amy told me that I can't record any more podcasts. We've got too many recorded. We've got too many because I was doing loads of guesting and then I kind of was like, hey, come and be on my podcast, and we've got like 50 or 60.
Wow.
Some ridiculous number of podcasts.
An abundance of podcasts.
Yeah, an abundance. But we can't. Either we're going to have to start doing more episodes in the week or stop recording for now.
Well, that's basically what I had to do. I mean, I just did more in the week, and I am currently closing in on 1,500 for my career so far. Yeah. 1,500.
You are one of the... I don't think there are many people in that percentile.
No, that's pretty rare. Yeah,
definitely the 1%er. 1%er, baby.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, I think about that number. I say, how did I do that?
Because for like 2 years you had 2 shows a day.
Well, yeah, that also helped, right?
You had 2 shows a day for ages.
Yeah, I was doing 10 shows a week for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and almost wiped myself out doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a great high. It was a really great high, but it's exhausting.
It was too much.
It really was.
I couldn't do that more.
Cutting back to once a day, 5 days a week was a relief.
Yeah.
I had to slow down as well. I mean, I was doing like 10 to 15 a week recorded. This week is a slow week, and I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
This is a slow week.
9, 10.
This is a slow week, right?
And I've got 11 plus this, and I've been on Clubhouse nearly every day.
Wow. Yeah. You have a schedule that rivals what it used to be for me, and I know what that's like, and it takes a toll. I mean, let's be perfectly honest. It feels good, but it takes a toll. You pay for it a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's all good, and it's not like you have so much to give anyway. I'm glad that you're able to do that. So on behalf of the universe that's receiving all that information you're putting out, thank you very much.
But it's good fun though. It's good fun having conversations with different people, being in different energy, answering different questions, looking at things from different angles, touching different communities. It's cool beans.
I especially love the part where you're touching other people and you're reaching out and experiencing other people. That for me is the joy of doing a podcast, is talking with folks like you and just, getting a sense. It's almost like you're drinking in that other person every time that you're talking to them. That's the way it feels to me. And I really, really love that. It's just, it's such an energy lift for me. I don't know about you, but I was telling Alex before, and I also was telling Andrew when I was on his show, how yesterday my wife's friend from Vermont came to visit. And I saw her before I did the podcast, and then I came in to do my podcast and then saw her afterward. And her first comment was, I don't remember the exact words, but something like, wow, you're just so energized.
Yeah.
In other words, she could see visibly what I experience just on my face. She could see it on my face, what I experience every time I do a show. So, it's nice. You get a little direct evidence that way. It's kind of fun. I'll tell you something else that happened too. I recently checked in on some of the very earliest YouTube recordings of this show that I did, because for the first 4 or 5 years, I just did audio only. I didn't do anything with video, and then started doing the video. And when I look at the first early ones, a few things occur to me. One, the technology wasn't as good, and the sound quality wasn't as good. But more importantly, I had a hangdog look on my face. I was sort of like a frown look on my face. And then I look at my face today, and it's almost perpetually in a smile position. And I think to myself, wow, what a great way to measure how my own development has gone on over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, whatever it's been.
Yeah.
Just by seeing how different I am in the video of the show. It's really something.
That's what's up.
Well, it's also, I think we need that.
Yeah.
We need that kind of reinforcement. Like, yeah, I'm making progress.
Right.
Because the more that we recognize that progress, the more the progress happens.
Facts.
Right? Because we open up to it. We're not tied to the illusion of lack. We're able to enjoy the groove of the abundance.
And what a groove it is. It's fun. It's scary sometimes, but it's fun. That's actually a topic that Andrew and I were talking about today. How, you're going through the polarity of life. You're dealing with the contrast. And it's like 4 steps forward and 2 steps back and 3 steps forward and 5 steps back and 7 steps forward. And over time, you realize, I've actually made some progress here. But in the middle, you're riding this roller coaster of, life going on in all this crazy directions and so forth. It doesn't even feel like you're making progress, but you are. You really are. At the very least, yeah. Sometimes it's a car crash.
Yes, sometimes. Not every day. Yes, sometimes.
It's really just getting used to it. I remember one of my best, he was asking me what my favorite LOA stories were. And so I told a few. Of course, Alex, I told him a Joel Elston LOA story because that has to be near the top. But as I'm thinking about it, one of my favorite, I guess it's a story, it's more of a theme that has developed over time, is how as I've been doing these shows, as I've been making my progress and so forth, I've had these little milestones that remind me, I'm making progress. Here you have the evidence of it, but I'm also experiencing the roller coaster at the same time. And I'm thinking particularly about, this was about, 2014, I think it was January 2014. Louise and I, just before that, we were living in Virginia. And she had kind of gotten sick of Virginia, and very much had gotten sick of Virginia. I was kind of there too, but we were feeling kind of trapped in our lives still. We were still kind of getting the handle on how this LOA stuff works and so forth. And she said to me, I know we don't have any money. I know we can't afford it, but I would really want to move back to Connecticut. And so we did this whole thing where we moved back, and there was like a whole series of things that went on at the same time. This is where we acquired our cats. This is where we lost our cars and they got new cars. This is where, it's like this whole sequence of events happened. And it felt like I was riding this horrid roller coaster ride that wouldn't stop and was making me throw up every other curve. But as I look back on it, I realized I was learning how to deal with being a conscious creator for the first time. Because that's really what's going on. Life keeps throwing stuff at you, and now you're actually trying to apply it as you're
Right.
dealing with all the life. And that's what feels like the roller coaster.
Mm.
But over time, you kind of get, I don't know if you get used to it. You're better able to handle it, I guess is the better way
More
to describe
resource.
it. More resource. Yeah, that's a good way to
Yeah.
describe it. Yeah. And well, I think it's also the familiarity. You just, okay, yeah, all right, there's another curve. It doesn't bother me as much as the previous curve did. I've seen that curve before. That's okay. I can handle that one. And then over time, it just seems to get easier and easier, even though the curves are still going on. You don't care as much anymore.
Mhm.
It's just like, okay, yep, there's a curve, fine. Yeah, what else is new?
Nothing.
Which kind of reminds me of what David Strickland and the Stream of David talk about. They talk about how you're trying to appreciate all of it, including the curves.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's really what it's about. So I'm curious, Dan, I'm going to ask you first, and then I'll ask Alex next. When was it the hardest, and when did it start to become easy, and why do you think it became easier?
Who said it became easier?
Okay, a little assumption in there. Perhaps. All right.
There's a funny story. So basically, Ethan's 6 months on Tuesday. He's going to be 6 months, right? And everyone's like, "Oh, is he sleeping through the night now?" He's actually been getting worse with his sleeping. When I was doing the night shift, he'd get up around 3, he'd get up around 6, right? Now I was doing night shift because he won't have bottles.
Uh-oh.
Last night 6 times, the day before that 10 times.
Oh no!
Oh God! Oh no!
It's like, it doesn't always get... I hope she's not listening and hears me laughing about this. But my point being that doesn't get easier necessarily, doesn't get harder either. It just stays what it is. What changes is your ability to have the capacity to handle.
True.
Mhm.
Yes.
Back to stream talk. The contrast is a necessary part of three-dimensional reality because it's the tension that keeps it all together. Nothing is the same way all the time.
Right.
Like, it's not always all day, it's not always all night, it's not always all good, it's not always all bad. It just is what it is. It's the law of relativity. When we start judging and comparing, then we've got these reference points that say it's this or something else, but it's just what it is. So what's actually happened on my journey, becoming less just judgmental, more accepting of what is, that's been what it's been, and better resource to handle the defrag time, whatever they call it, the refraction time, when I do get thrown off by what it is, catching and not trying to control the emotional control of the thing, but to be able to ride the wave of it. That's it.
That's a good way to describe it. Yeah. How about for you, Alex? What's your experience? How have you managed to ride the wave?
My favorite phrase is "It is what it is." So I just go through life saying that because it is what it is. It is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be. So
All right.
you know,
Hey.
and you just gotta take things with a grain of salt, and like you said, ride the wave. That's all you can do. Because I mean, if you sit there and stress over every single curveball that you're thrown, you're gonna be a mess. You're never gonna get through it. And then you're gonna be stressing about your stress. So it's just gonna snowball. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you have the choice. You can either ride the wave or you could be drowning. You could do it either way.
Yeah, exactly.
It's up to you. If you can be on top of the board or underneath the board, which is it?
Just always bring a flotation device.
That's right. Absolutely true. I like that. Yeah, it is what it is. That's acceptance, isn't it?
Yeah, that's clearly what it is.
That's accepting whatever's coming your way. Like, okay, yep, there's another one. Yep.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that the consciousness that we need to create more of what we prefer is rarely accessed when we're in the throes of resisting what's here already.
Oh yeah, I'd say almost never. I mean,
I don't look to talk in absolutes, but
Yeah,
Really.
pretty close, I think.
Not
I
that
did
we do
well.
absolutes, but
It's hard to think of exceptions. Let's put it that way.
yeah, those exceptions are certainly harder to come by.
They are, yes.
But
I
yeah,
find with a lot of contrast, you can come out weaker, you can come out stronger. The contrast I've been dealing with lately, I've been getting more firm on where my boundaries are and what happens to you if you cross them.
That's almost mind-boggling to me because you already have really strong boundaries.
Yeah, but I don't think everyone was fully aware, which means I had to make a Facebook post.
Aha, I see. Okay. All right. Well, hey, you knew what you needed to do. That's really good.
Yeah.
you are on the ball, Alex.
Absolutely.
I just
That's
had
really
to
interesting.
So
But that's really interesting. I mean, because you really have some of the strongest boundaries of anyone I've ever met, and there you are working on boundaries.
well,
That's
this is
really
my
cool.
personal boundaries that I'm very strong with, and those are like in the moment as it comes up type of stuff. And I'm like, no, I won't deal with that, or no, I don't do that. But for me to go out and say, okay, you know what? Don't do this when you come to my house. Don't call me at this time. You know, those type of boundaries, like that's different. That's me telling people what line not to cross, as opposed to them knowing me well enough. So that's the issue I'm dealing with right now.
It's still boundaries as far as I'm concerned,
It is.
no matter how you look at it.
Day. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I guess what I'm taking from it is we always, even with our strengths, we're always working on them.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it doesn't stop
at all times.
continuously. Yeah, and I think it's an important life lesson right there.
Yeah.
Just, don't stop paddling. Paddle downstream, but don't stop paddling. Because if you go downstream, then you can stop for a while, let the boat be carried along by the current, and just
everybody likes to float.
Yeah, just don't paddle upstream. That's the only trick.
Let's
Right.
take the absolutes out of it. Okay. No,
I mean, about absolutes about paddling downstream versus upstream.
we don't want to have the paddlers upset.
Yes, the salmon will arise.
No. No thanks.
Yeah, we don't want to be attacked by the paddlers union. You're right.
I don't fancy that tickle at all.
Oh.
So,
But for all the rest of the people who actually like the nice, easy ride,
yeah,
I recommend the downstream route. It's a more fun route.
there are definitely some advantages for that play and positioning.
Not the least of which is you don't get tired.
Yeah,
I mean, paddling upstream is pretty exhausting.
Yeah, it
If
is.
you've ever done it, it's like, oh yeah,
Lean
I'm
not
feeling
on
that.
my own understanding.
But it's also an upper arm workout.
It is. It is. Of course, you get to the point where your arms feel like they're going to fall off, but nevertheless, it's a great workout.
They probably will. Just saying.
No, they don't. No, you're right. They don't. They just feel like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. So we've established, what we consider to be or to not be our breakthrough moment. With Daniel, it's like a continuous rather than a single breakthrough moment. It sounds like, and dealing with the contrast is moment to moment. You mentioned, how did you say it? You said that it was how you feel about it. How did you describe it? What smooths it out in your mind?
So what it is for me, the frustrations, the pain, the suffering, the stress is because I've formed a judgment and then I'm having a physiological or emotional response to that judgment.
Right. Okay.
Without the trigger of that judgment, you don't have the same response. So working on freedom from those responses, which comes from a freedom of judgment.
So just don't judge, basically.
It's easier said than done, but
Right.
Yeah. Well,
or the thing that I got caught up on, this was where the real magic happened for me recently, because I was working on the non-judgment, and then I'd catch myself judging, and then judge myself for judging. So actually,
I know that one.
Not judging myself for the times when I do judge.
Right. Yeah, I know
That's
that one.
The magic source.
Yeah, and I'm very good at doing the opposite. The part where I'm judging myself for judging myself. I'm a skilled person at that one. Yeah. I discover that every single day to my annoyance.
To my annoyance.
Judging myself about how I judge myself for judging myself. No, but it can be a rabbit hole. It can be like
Oh God, yes.
a rabbit hole. But ultimately, what's supporting me the most in losing the judgment is just not taking everything so seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're a butthole. Enjoy.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna pass. I'm polluting my space with that. No judgment. But have at it. Do you?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And catching myself has been really powerful, like super duper duper powerful. Catching myself, and just not really getting into the ick. Like,
The ick.
what comes from this? Where does this go? And the amount of time I'm spending catching myself with, it's like, oh my goodness, I was literally just about to go down that rabbit hole, which serves nobody and nothing.
Mhm.
I become the butthole.
Yep.
Like, there's no joy on the other side of this. It's not actually going to get me an outcome I even want anyway, because it's not vibrating in frequency of the kind of thing I want. So just, okay, thank you for sharing. I'm sorry to hear that.
Right. And it's an ongoing experience of just
there was
throughout the
something
day
different.
noticing this stuff, right? I mean, I catch myself asking myself, okay, first of all, I start with, where am I feeling right now? This is a question I ask myself throughout the day. How do I feel right now? And it's a real quick conversation. We're talking about 0.3 seconds. It's that long, but I do it. And then I give the quick answer, and it's either feeling good or not feeling good. And if it's not feeling good, make an adjustment and then go on.
Yeah.
And then 5 minutes later, do it again. And then 20 minutes later, do it again. And then 10 minutes later, do it again. And it's just ongoing throughout the day. But it's really powerful because it's what Abraham Hicks calls segment intending. Basically, what's my next segment going to feel like to me? What am I picking? What emotions am I picking? What are my choices going to be? When you do it on a regular basis, oh my God, you can do amazing things in terms of turning your attitude around in the midst of the absolutely craziest chaos and crisis. To the point where, like you say, Daniel, you don't even have time to do judging. It's like, oh judge, why? I'm sorry, where were we? I can't keep up with this.
I'm not available for judging right now.
Exactly. Yeah. So just taking that temperature every few minutes is really, really valuable. It's one of the best things I've been learning this year. Something else that came up with the conversation with Andrew, he has very interesting questions, I have to say. You've been interviewed by him, right, Daniel?
No.
You haven't done his show yet?
No, I haven't yet.
Yeah. I mean, his questions are, he's the kind of person who knows how to ask really basic questions, the questions that really get right to the root of an issue, which I figured if you had done his show, you would instantly recognize it, because from the very moment I had you on this show, I realized that's something you're great at. You cut right to the pith. I'll bring up an issue, and 10 seconds later we're done because you just got right to the center. Which is a skill. I mean, it is. It's a great skill to have,
I don't really have the puff. The puff is not so.
No, there's no puff where Dan Mangane is concerned. No.
Puff.
If you ever came with puff, I'd say, are you okay?
The poetry is within me, but
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Like, I've got other things to be doing in my life, especially now that I've got the little guy. It's like, well, I could puff with you. I could hang with Ethan.
Yeah. That's a
and
difficult
also
choice.
watching a small human that has meaning that they don't really have attached to stuff, and they've got expression. Like, he goes for it. He doesn't talk during the day. During the day, he's really quiet. In the morning, he's got a lot to say. I think he's talking about his dreams. And then for about 40 minutes in the evening, maybe 35, he's got a lot to say. And he's you can see that he's really trying to get it out. I'll send you guys some sometimes. Like, and his face is
really expressive.
Really got something to express.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's someone here, a little human, that hasn't yet got the words to form.
Right.
And really wants to express something. And you have the gift and you're using it for that. Anybody got time for it?
Yeah.
That's when you realize what your priorities in life really are.
Perspective
100%.
change.
Yeah, 100%.
That's very cool.
It's fine. No, I'm good.
So I'll ask you the basic question where parenting is concerned. Do you feel that having Ethan in your life has changed you?
100%. He goes to the point. In the ways because
And you got an absolute answer out of him. But that was pretty good, you know.
a little puff. No, but just the perspective. And I was speaking to one of my best mates, Duncan, because he's got a daughter that's 3 months older than
okay.
Ethan. Madeline was born in August and Ethan December.
Okay.
And he shared this epiphany the other day that I was just like, whoa. He's like, as humans, we don't witness our own growth. We're busy growing. We're not looking at what's. Maybe if you're an older sibling, maybe you get it. But by the time that you're older, you don't really remember. I don't remember what it was like looking at my sisters growing up, and my younger sister's an 8 year difference, 8-9 years difference. But now we get to literally watch the whole process. Like, I remember he was just a bump.
That's crazy. I never thought about that.
And then like looking at the scans when his face was taking shape and he was doing little things, and oh look, he's sucking his thumb, and then he's out. And I looked at pictures of when he was like 2 days old, and now he's 6 months, and his face has changed. And he's got his high chair now. He got his high chair this week, so he sits at the dinner table on his high chair, and he's got like, I'm watching life take shape. And even like looking at him, looking at colors and seeing which ones he prefers, and looking at him. Even the thing with like, so last weekend, we started letting him try different food. So we've got this little baby thingy where it's got like a little net, and he can hold it, and we put fruits and vegetables in it, and he can like chew on it, and then he gets the juice out of it. And he was enjoying avocado. He was loving it. And it was watching him like ask for more avocado. And he liked apple, and he had some different fruits and some vegetables, and just watching him like, oh my god, he's now moving into eating food. This is bonkers. And then even from detached, like Alex, you know this too, you've got nephews and nieces, but like my nephew turned 16 today, and it's like, I remember when he was Ethan's size, because I used to babysit him sometimes. And he's going to be driving next year, and he's probably doing all sorts of older human-sized things, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, that's the closest I've been able to come to that experience, because Louise and I didn't have kids of our own, but my niece Michaela, she was the flower girl at our wedding when she was 2.5 years old, and one of the, of course, I'm a very tall man, so one of the great pictures from the wedding is where my wife and I are standing next to each other in our wedding attire, and my niece is standing underneath my legs. And today she's a 6 foot mom of her own. You know, it's like, oh, she's 6 foot. Yeah.
They breed some tall.
No kidding. Yeah, we grow them tall in our family. Yeah, no doubt about it. But I mean, she's got a kid of her own, and her kid was born about the same time Ethan was. I mean, it's just a mind-boggling thing.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
Yeah,
and it just gives a new respect for life. Also, just patience and appreciation. Like one of the biggest lessons, I think I've mentioned it on the show before, but I mention it again just in case. Like, I don't remember when I look at this. Helped also with Ariana. I don't remember what it's like being 5 years old.
Me either.
And yet, at the age of 5, that is when we're literally on the cusp of developing analytical function, and on the last cusps of that fatal brainwave where we're sucking in everything and forming character. Ethan's entering into that cusp where he's learning to be a human. Who he's going to be in 20 years' time is being created right now.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's not going to remember any of it.
Yeah.
So the people that are buttholes, the people that I don't really prefer, and all of the things, they have no memory of the time in their life where who they are today was essentially being created.
That's true.
That's crazy. But also true.
Just made me a lot more compassionate. It's like, you don't remember when you develop these butthole tendencies. No judgment.
No judgment.
No judgment.
It's officially no judgment if you say no judgment.
Yeah, of course. And if you say it's not, then you're judging. So
okay.
Like, no offense.
No offense, but you still.
Well, it's nice to know what the rules of the game are. So thanks for clarifying that.
Oh, anytime.
We got you, bro. But it's just like, you'd have to be a real turd to have that perspective and to look at that and still judge people.
It's true. That's true. Louise was actually making a similar comment yesterday when her friend was here. She pointed out to us, and I think she's actually said this before. I certainly have heard it somewhere else, but she points out that we never experience ourselves in 3D. We experience everybody else in 3D, but at most we only see ourselves in 2D.
And we don't actually see ourselves most of the time. We
That's
never
right.
see ourselves whole. We see a video capture or a photographic capture. And depending on the pixelation, maybe we'll get a good high definition, but we never see the whole thing.
That's right. Yeah.
What about mirrors? I mean, that's still 2D, but...
And it's reverse. You're not seeing the whole thing. You're not seeing the actual image. You're seeing the reverse of it.
There's a thing going around now on TikTok, and they did this thing where you can see how other people see you. There's a filter that changes your camera so you can see how other people see you. And people are freaking out because they don't look like what they thought they looked like their entire lives. It's crazy.
And the other thing,
I haven't tried it yet. I'm scared because people are literally crying on camera when they see what other people see. Sometimes it's happy, sometimes it's not so happy.
But Alex, the crazy thing is even then you're still seeing it through your lens. So you're not seeing what they see. You're still seeing your perception of a programmed perception of what someone else sees.
Wait, I missed that. Go ahead. Hold on.
Yes, you're still looking through your distorted lens. Yeah. So you're still seeing your perception of a computerized depiction of someone else's perception.
True.
Yeah, that was coming out in a conversation also that happened yesterday, in which I was pointing out to her friend. Her friend's name is Leona. I was pointing out to her, I don't remember what the context was, but we only are able to consciously process a tiny percentage of the data that comes in through our five senses, to the point where 99% of it is outside of our control just because there's too much there. I mean, you guys have to deal with it in a way that many of us don't have to because you're on the autism spectrum, which means that there are certain filters missing there. But even with you, I mean, you guys certainly have some filters in place. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking. And those filters essentially make it possible for us to survive, but it also cuts out so much data. It cuts out so much information. So what we end up doing is our minds, and this is where our abilities as conscious creator really come to the fore, our minds fill in blanks. We get little bits of information and then we fill in the rest of it. And probably the best example of that is police investigating a crime. You know, a crime occurs, the police will go to interview people in the area and they'll ask eyewitnesses what happened. They'll talk to 4 eyewitnesses and 4 eyewitnesses will give them 4 completely different descriptions of the person who was involved. And every single one of them believe that it's true because that's what they created through their filtration system. And then you look at the video, and then you look at the video, and the video shows a guy in a parka. You can't see his face, you can't see his hands, you don't know what he looks like at all. All you can see is the guy in a parka.
But you got the parka.
But one person said it was a tall white man. The other one said it was a short black man. The third one says, no, it wasn't a man at all. It was a woman. I mean, that's what you get, you know, because people are filling in the blanks.
Yeah.
Have you ever read the book Blink by Malcolm Gladwell?
I've heard of it. I have not read it. No.
I really do recommend it.
Okay, I'll check it out.
I really do recommend it because Blink really gives some examples of what the brain does to fill in those blanks and how that can have sometimes really detrimental impacts.
Oh yeah. Well, as Louise was pointing out in that conversation yesterday, that's where not only do we have to fill in the blanks, but we do it creatively. In other words, we do it based on what is it that we would want to see in that situation, or what is it that we expect to see. And I guess the way I'd express it is almost everything, every truth that we think is true, almost every fact that we think is a fact is actually more of an opinion, simply because of how our human brains fill in so many of those blanks that what we've created there, it's almost impossible to describe it as objective reality because most of it was created in our minds.
Right.
But to get philosophical with it, even that which we are consciously in relationship to is still being seen through our distorted lens and would have a different someone else would have a different opinion about it.
Yeah.
So are there really any facts outside of our own experience?
And if there are, how do you prove it? And I haven't
You
the
can't even
faintest
trust your
clue
own
how to do it.
experience.
Really?
Like, you can't even see your own nose.
It's true.
Literally, you cannot see your own unless you're looking in a mirror. You can't. Your eyes filter out your nose just so you can go about your day.
Which is a good thing, actually.
Yeah, I feel like it would get in the way a lot.
Well, especially in my case, just considering the size of my nose, but that's another issue.
We'd be cross-eyed 90% of the time.
No kidding. Well, there is that old saying about not being able to see beyond the end of your nose, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
where that comes from. So,
Yeah.
Yep. Daniel's demonstrating for us.
I still can't hear it.
It is screwy stuff, though. I mean, we create all of this stuff in our minds, and then I'm amazed we can find anything in common to talk about. Seriously, how do we do that? I mean, maybe we're just creating that too. I don't know.
Aren't we though?
Where's the objective reality? I haven't the faintest clue. I'm not sure there is any. Oh, and then, Daniel, you always like to approach things from the scientific perspective. If you don't know that there's any objective reality, then where does science come into it?
Science is people, I guess, having a go. And see what they come up with. I mean, I remember, I'll never forget one time I did a workshop, and one of the attendees had a physics degree. I didn't know she had a physics degree.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah, I need to talk to you about some of the wording that you used and set me straight. And I'll always be thankful to her for that. But she's like, stop saying that science proved something. We don't, we demonstrate.
Ah, very good.
Science doesn't prove anything. It demonstrates.
That's right.
Hypotheses, and then challenges those hypotheses and continues to challenge them and demonstrates what came from the evidence.
That's exactly right.
Science doesn't have facts. It's got theories that are supported up until the evidence changes.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about how that ties into certain current world events, but the point being that two different people would have different. Alex is laughing because she doesn't talk about two different scientists. Two different scientists would have different, like the same experiment with different certain parameters. They'll get contradictory results.
Okay.
Right.
But one was peer reviewed in a white paper, so it gets called a fact by those of us that are less learned of what science is.
Right.
Oh, yeah, science proved it. They didn't prove. Under these conditions that got that result, literally many things that have got one outcome. You just go and Google and look for another white paper. You see someone else has proven the opposite.
Exactly.
Very true.
And it wasn't proven; it was demonstrated, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Like our beloved vegan friends. So that's because,
Here we go.
There it is.
you knew it was coming. Veganism is the healthy way forward. If you did this cross section, but if you do another cross section, there are people that will say that carnivore is the way forward, and someone else will say that keto is, and someone will say keto. And all of them, there's a phrase in reality transurfing that there's evidence to support all theories.
Yes, that's true.
Not that all theories are then correct because of the evidence that supports them, but there is evidence to support all theories. So getting caught up in your theory or anyone else's theory just makes no sense because there's evidence to support every single one of them.
I love your story about the person with the physics degree who kind of set you straight on stuff about the things that she said. My cousin is married to a guy who is a retired geologist and with a scientific background. And the way he explained it was, science doesn't prove anything. Science is simply a data gathering enterprise. I thought, whoa, that's a great way to describe
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that really, really says it. And he said, in fact, if anybody ever tells you that science has proven something, you know for a fact that they're not a scientist, which is really cool.
Powerful.
Yeah, very powerful. It also shows all the different ways that people have tried to claim that science proves stuff just so they can push whatever their agenda is for whatever it is they're trying to push. Like, oh my God, we hear it everywhere. We include it in our conversation. You said it right there. That
was going the wrong way.
It was a slip of the tongue when you said, well, I can prove that. Oh no, you can't prove that. That's right.
No.
Oh, geez. Yeah, but we do that all the time, right? we all slip into that one because we're so used to hearing about scientific proof. Well, guess what? Proof's only for math and law. It doesn't apply to science. Oh, yeah, right. Okay, I forgot that. Yeah. Something else that cropped up over the past week. I think it was something I saw on a science website last Friday or Saturday. The science, I think it was livescience.com was the website. And it was an article about what astrophysicists deal with when they're trying to understand, the universe and galaxies and quasars and all this other kind of stuff. And essentially, the article was saying that gravity is broken. The whole theory of gravity doesn't really work the way science thinks that it's going to work. And when they try to apply it, they find that galaxies, spin too fast and objects come together too quickly, and that none of it makes sense. And so they've actually come up with a theory that says there's a particular kind of matter that gives off no energy. And so that's how they're trying to explain these anomalies. And so they call this the modified version of, or modified law of gravity theory. And the only problem is the modified theory doesn't work either. So apparently astrophysicists, and this has been going on for years. This is not a new thing. This has been going on for decades now. Astrophysicists have been collectively scratching their heads for years trying to figure out, okay, so what exactly is this gravity thing and how does it work? Which is not what we expect. Lay people think, well, yeah, they got gravity down pat, right? No, not even close.
There's always someone that's got to stir the pot. You can't just leave things as they are.
And the way I look at it is, to me, it's just validation and verification that the universe is driven by thought. So here you have all these scientists who are observing all these phenomena, and they have all different kinds of expectations, and the expectations are causing the universe to produce results that match their expectations. And well, wait a minute, that's not the way it's supposed to work. I was supposed to do this. Why didn't you do this over here? And they're like in this endless rabbit hole trying to figure out how it is that these things are happening when they're the ones directing it.
Yeah.
Oh, to be an astrophysicist in the 21st century.
I was wondering something like that myself the other day because Kenny and I went down to the beach to go watch the sunset, and I'm just watching how fast the sun sets. And I'm like, are we really spinning that fast? Like, it doesn't seem like that all throughout the day because the sun's just up there, but it's like sunset really fast. We are really spinning.
Now you also have to add perception in, because that's what you're dealing with there too. You're perceiving it as moving quickly or slowly or whatever.
Yeah, because then your relationship to time has an impact on your experience of how long it takes for something, because it's just a connection of quanta that you're experiencing based on your perceptions of what quanta mean from a perspective of time.
And of course, as soon as you've included the word quanta in the sentence, that's when most people's minds go, what was that? Huh?
Yeah. Because I literally went, oh, we're in a rabbit hole.
We're in a rabbit hole, right?
So basically, the quickest untastardized definition of a quanta are the snapshots that reality is made up of, those snapshots in time that connect together to give us the moving image. So if reality was a movie show, those individual slides or those frames,
the frames,
are the quanta.
Okay,
that's crazy.
So I presume they're of
the images in the picture book are each a single quanta.
Yeah.
Right. And I presume that they're of infinitely small thinness, so there's like an unlimited number of them per second or whatever.
Oh, my mind just got blown.
And what is a second? A second comes from the Sumerians' relationship to the number 6, 60 seconds, 60 minutes. And like all of it, like time as a function is a construct around the number 6 developed in a Babylonian temple 15,000 years ago or 20,000 years ago. Before then, we just honored natural time. So anyway, that's another.
Somebody else made an interesting point to me over the last week or so, that if you go to Google and you do a search for any kind of medical condition, doesn't matter what it is, any kind of disease, whatever, and especially if you read it on WebMD. I mean, there are a lot of a lot of websites you can go to, but that's probably the most popular, most famous one. You'll find in every single case that they say something along the lines of, no one really knows what causes this.
That's true.
And it's all of the illnesses. It's all of the conditions. Nobody really knows what causes this. Nobody really knows how this works. What have they been studying all these years?
They're like, I don't care how it started. Let's just fix it.
But it's interesting. They've done all this research. They've they spent billions and trillions of dollars. They've put in huge numbers of man hours, and they still don't even know what the darn thing is. They can't define it.
Yeah.
That's just mind-boggling. No wonder it's a data collection enterprise, because they don't know what else to do.
I'm just collecting data. That's what I do.
I'm just collecting data. Yeah, that's my job. I collect data over here. Data, get your data. Hot off the press. Daniel's just kind of sitting back. He's saying, yeah, okay, I've done all this. No problem.
just kicking back, creating my reality. Nothing more.
Right?
I decided to create the Alex Walt show, which I'm just watching with exuberance and joy.
You're doing a beautiful job, I have to say. Yes.
What can I say?
You did a great job on my hair.
I've been practicing this infinitely for many lifetimes.
Oh, it's funny. When you were preparing to do your book, Stepping Beyond Intention, and you were piecing together the concepts that you're piecing together, you have a very scientific mind, you have a very analytical mind, and you're able to really just dive in and piece together things that other people hadn't even considered as possibilities. But I also wonder what it's like subjectively from your perspective. I mean, as you're putting this stuff together, I got to ask you the question bluntly. Do you ever say to yourself, oh, you're so full of crap, Daniel. You're just making this stuff up as you go along.
But do you know the thing, Walt? You've got to remember that I lived it.
Ah, yes.
I wasn't theoretically coming up with potential stuff. Like Stepping Beyond Intention is actually the roadmap that I followed to come back from the brinks of nothing.
Right, right.
I knew it worked for me. What was coming up was, is it really definitely going to work for other people? That's what the conversation was. And when I was exploring some of the limiting beliefs that had me in the go slow, pushing, because it took me a decade to get that out into the world from initial conception. It wasn't, is this BS? Is it true only up to me and BS thereafter?
What did you conclude with that?
I concluded that you're not going to know unless you know. So
there you go.
And by then by the time I put the book out in 2019, I'd had a solid year full time of working with people and sharing my work around the world and so on and so forth. And seeing firsthand, oh wow, this, and that's why the back of the book has got so many different case studies and testimonials of how different aspects and elements of the work have impacted people's lives, because I had gathered all of that data.
I love the way you described it, though. How did you say it? It was basically, it is what it is, to use Alex's phrase. You didn't get wrapped up in any of, is this true? Is it false? You just said, this is here for you to use if you can use it, essentially.
Yeah.
And part of the work for me personally has been not getting so caught up in if it doesn't work for someone.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's important, because when you're writing a book, I think for most of us, just the inception of the idea of writing the book means, well, I'm going to help somebody. I've got to help somebody. And then you start to get into, oh God, what if it doesn't help? Oh, I got to do something to make sure that it does help. Okay, I'll talk to some people to figure out how it's going to make sure it helps.
A number of traps designed to trap. So it's like, now it's, all right, you get the opportunity to check this out. If it works for you, it works. And if it doesn't, I guess it doesn't. Nothing I can do about that.
Not much you can do.
Does it work for you? And it's recognizing that these principles aren't for everybody. That one I learned the hard way. I remember
What do you mean?
I think it was The biggest event I did at that time, I got invited down to Arizona to teach a workshop. It was about 60 or 70 people. It's the biggest one I'd done up to that point. And maybe 2 people in the room had a limited idea of what my work was. So it was a room full of completely new people.
Right.
So I was getting the opportunity to share these perspectives. A couple of people walked out because they didn't agree. Because I was like, no, this is the truth. And you gotta come over to this way of thinking. And what are you doing? Stop limiting yourself. And it's like, or they're happy where they are. They may lie to themselves that they want to change and do all of this work to change. But most people don't want to change their life. They're too addicted to who they are and where they're at. They don't want to heal their body. Then they lose an identity they've built around their sickness or their illness. They don't want a happy relationship. Then they have to face the fact that the reason why the relationship's there is because they're not happy within themselves. They don't want to be abundant, because then maybe they have to take some responsibility and not blame the government for the reason why they haven't got any. Most people don't want to change. So I'm here for the people that do. And here's a way that can work. It's not telling you what to do. It's giving you a framework to find your own path. But if you don't want it, stop lying. Don't waste my time or anybody else's. Just be happy in your misery.
I think you've just touched on the best answer I've heard so far to the question of, let's see, how do I phrase the question now? It's the question of, how do I come to grips with the fact that people do their best growing after they hit bottom? And I think you just answered it. The reason is, when they hit bottom, that's when they're most susceptible to wanting to change. But up until that point, they have no interest in changing.
No. And some people like the bottom, and so they keep
coming
back to that. And here's the freedom from judgment and freedom responsibility. One of my mentors, when he told me this line, it changed the game for me. I think it was last year. It's like, Daniel, you're responsible to people, not for them.
Yes.
Right.
You're not responsible for them. You're responsible to them.
Mm-hmm.
You show up, you give your all, you give them the tools, you give them the opportunity. If they don't take it up, leave them to get on with it.
Exactly. I agree with that. That's one of the biggest lessons Louise learned when she was a therapist. She used to take it on that, I'm trying to help these people who are alcoholics, and they're not getting better. And her supervisor said, that's not your job to make them better. And she said, well, what is my job? Well, your job is to teach them the information they need if they want to get better. Oh, and it's like this huge weight came off her shoulders, because she realized she was taking on something that wasn't hers to take on.
Right.
Yeah, that's a huge one. Yeah, I imagine that was probably seminal for you. That was a big breakthrough, because I'm sure it is for anybody. Yeah. It also makes me realize we got a good topic to bring up next time. People and the lies they tell to themselves.
Oh, juicy. Love it. Do it. Thursday. I'll be here
all day, every day. Like, people are going to get, I'm not going to do it. But people get really mad, like, when you shine the truth. Really mad. I had somebody the other day, so I posted a meme. I think you saw it as well, Alex. Breaking news: the full moon is sick and tired of people blaming the and people were getting really angry about me disrespecting the moon.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, the comments.
You got to read the comments. And I'm like, I'm not even well, I think you'll find that moon energy is very powerful. It's like, well, people post these kind of things out of ignorance. Like, all right, mate. I just kind of made a little bit of a joke. You want to know
what I said to his what he posted?
I can't wait.
I said, if Mercury said, if you see me in retrograde, mind your business.
And it's like, I wasn't even speaking to, like, today I'm going to be doing the visualization for Micro to Millions, because it's a new moon and I'm doubling down because we've got an eclipse. Right? I tune in, like I do, but I'm not blaming the moon for what shows up and doesn't show up.
Right.
Well, we did our visualization. Must be the retrograde, man. No, you were at home eating Cheetos. That's why you're broke. Stop it. Stop it.
Yes.
Like, the opportunity came and you were too busy doing a mantra that you saw on YouTube. Like, Stop it. Stop lying.
Yeah.
Please.
I have a feeling this is going to be a fun show next week.
Oh, I'm gonna be here.
Daniel has a smile on his face, like he's just saving up the stories for us. I can just tell.
The tea is real with this.
We're gonna get into it. Yeah, but people are upset, you know.
Yeah.
Because I don't pander to the it's a divine plan. No, it wasn't a divine plan. You messed up. Okay? Stop it. Divine plan. Stop it. Oh, I'm just going through my referee. No, you're procrastinating. Stop it.
I thought I was blunt. Oh my goodness.
Jesus and all the angels are covering their face right now, man. Krishna pulled down his thing from the thing. Yogananda's wrapped his orange thing around his face. He doesn't want to look at this. Like, don't reincarnate me until they stop this, please. Okay? I'll have another go when they've stopped that nonsense. Cheetos. Yeah, it's like, really?
Oh, my cheeks hurt.
The magic didn't work. Speaking of which, before I forget, guys, I'm selfish plugs. I'm doing another workshop for the East West Bookshop next Tuesday. East West are gangster. That's where Eckhart Tolle started, Dr. Joe started, Deepak Chopra started. Some of my heroes still teach there right now. And they've invited me back again. I'm doing a virtual workshop called Manifesting in the Face of Uncertainty.
How do people tap into that?
Dreamwithdan.com events page. You can grab a ticket. It's like $10. I'm doing a 2-hour workshop, $10.
Beautiful.
But I'm going in.
All right. Yeah.
So $10.
Well, that's a good promo. I have to say the promo you just did before, that was even better, but that was a good promo.
But yeah, we're doing it for $10 and you get the replay. If you can't make the time, all attendees get the replay.
Okay. That's beautiful. Good stuff. All right. So thank you guys very much for a wonderful conversation. Thanks for the great laughter at the end. Boy, I feel really just purified from that. That was great. Thank you especially to our podcast listeners everywhere. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.